What's up, YouTube? We back with another review. Today we're gonna be reviewing Dandadan Season 1. Let's get it. And so the first episode starts off in an altercation. A young girl's getting into it with her boyfriend. He's telling her, if you don't have any money, I'm gonna break up with you. And so after she tries to kick him, she misses, and he kicks her to the ground. And so moving along after the squabble, she goes to her friends to confide with them. Her friends tell her that she was stupid to go out with him anyway. She should have known he was a bad boy, but she said she didn't care. He reminded her of her childhood crush, Ken Takakaru. And after confiding with her friends, she moves along. She walks around the hallway of the school. She's all depressed and sad after being dumped, and she runs into another student. And as she walks in on the class, he's getting bullied. And so she steps in and stops the bullies from bullying him. And after she stops the bullies from bullying him, she goes over and asks him what is he doing. And she sees that he's basically like a nerd and he's all into UFOs. She goes along to tell him that he's a nerd and how lame he is. He tells her that she's in love. That's the only reason why she was there to help him. She's like, I'm not in love with you, you nerd. And so he goes along and tells her about the different conspiracy theories about space and how the world is getting ready for a space war. And so she basically like nods him off like, yeah, whatever, UFOs are fake, they're not real. And so they get into a huge altercation where Ataku telling her aliens are real and UFOs are real. And Momo, she's telling him her grandmother is a psychic and ghosts and spirits are real. So that's what they get into in the first altercation. And so after that brief squabble and difference of opinion on things, they come to a conclusion. They say, okay, let's make a bet. Whichever one of them can prove their side right, the loser has to be the other person's lackey. And so moving along, Otaku picks a UFO hotspot for Momo to go to, and Momo picks a creepy underground tunnel that's left empty that she thinks is a spiritual hotspot. And so Otaku arrives there. He looks to prove that ghosts are fake and they're not real. And Momo, she looks to prove that UFOs are fake and aliens are not real. So the bet's on. And as they're talking to each other on the phone, Momo gives a little bit of lore into her history on how her grandmother was a psychic and she grew up with her grandmother because she lost her parents. And she also tells Utaku that her reason believing in ghosts so strong is that it's because of her grandmother. She loved her. And so after she gives him the lore on why she loves ghosts, she asks him, why do you believe in aliens? And he says he doesn't have a particular reason why he likes aliens. He just does. And so they go along, and as they're talking, Utaku sees something strange. He sees some footsteps. And after being thrown off by this, he looks up. And as he looks up, it's a ghost. And it's a grandma, and she wants to eat his weenie. She says, let me gobble on it. And as the weenie gobbler running after him, he takes off. He's like, I'm out of here. This granny is crazy. Momo tells him that he shouldn't run from her. But instead, he's like, no, forget that. I'm out. And so as he's running from this ghost granny, Momo tells him that he can't be caught by this granny. And if he does, he's going to be cursed. And right as he's getting hawked down and captured, the cell phone connection goes away. And now it's Momo's turn. Strange things starts to happen to her all of a sudden. Some aliens appear, and they strip her clothes off and strap her down to where she can't get up. They tell her that they come from a civilization where there's only men. And in order to get closer to how humans reproduce, they say that they have to take her banana, which is her you know what. And so she says, what? I'm not going to have some alien sex. Get away from me, you creep. And so as these freaky, weird aliens try to take her innocence, she fights them off. And as she's fighting off these aliens, they try to put her under a spell so she can comply to what they want from her. And so as she's doing her best to fight this spell, the aliens stop. The phone rings. Her telephone rings. And as one of the aliens picks up the phone, out of the phone, the Turbo Granny comes out and kicks him. It attacks him through the phone and knocks him out. It's the Granny Gobbler. And the Granny Gobbler, she chomps on his banana. But it's just not the Granny Gobbler. It's Otaku. He's infused with the Granny Gobbler. And he's going crazy and he can't control himself. And so the aliens, they say, hey, we didn't tell you can intrude on us. So they get into a squabble. So it's the aliens versus Turbo Granny. And Granny gets her first victim. She wipes out the first alien and eats his banana. She's a savage. But as the fight continues, the second alien hits him with a beam and smashes him into the wall. And the alien declares that he's going to take Momo's banana. And the otaku, as he's talking through Turbo Granny, he says, no, take mine if you're going to take anybody's banana. And so he goes along and he tells the aliens, I've waited on y'all for forever to come and talk to me. He says, but y'all never came. He said he had no friends. Nobody ever liked him. And he said all he wanted to do was meet aliens, but they never came. And as he's going on in his rant, he says, the only person who came and ever wanted to talk to me was Momo. So he says, I'll protect her even if I have to become a monster. So as he's transforming back into Turbo Granny, the alien puts off another beam and destroys him. And shortly after he says, Momo, I can't do anything. She's like, what? But you was just acting so hard. And so after him being defeated, the aliens are going to take her banana. But in the instance, she has a flashback when she was young. And her grandmother, the psychic, told her to take your chi out, which is a ritual that her grandmother has told her to use to ward off aliens, demons, and all type of evil things. And so as she's remembering this flashback, it goes back to her fighting off the aliens. And this flashback must have sparked something up in her because she lets out some psychic powers and destroys the aliens and breaks from their spell. And as she kicks one of the aliens out the window, she realizes that they're trapped in a UFO and they have to get out. But as she's saying this, Otaku, he's turned back into Turbo Granny and he's going wild. So he attacks her. And she's like, hey, snap out of. And as she uses her abilities, she wards him off and knocks Turbo Granny out of him and he's back to normal. But even though she knocked out the granny, he still's under this curse. And as the Turbo Granny's speaking to them, she says she's took his weenie and the curse won't be let off until they defeat her. And so just as they're talking to Granny, the UFO that they're on is burning and it's going to crash. And so as the UFO crashes, they barely make it out. And so after they get out of the UFO, they both say, hey, this was the worst experience. And they both really comply to each other that both of them was right about the ghosts and about the aliens because of the events that had happened today. So they both were convinced each other was right. And so after they talk, Otaku, he tells Momo that, hey, I have to go defeat the Turbo Granny to break this spell. And he tells her he wants to do it alone. And she says, no, I'll help you defeat Turbo Granny. And as they're talking, at the end of the scene, she asks him, hey, what's your name? I forgot. And crazy enough, he says, my name is Ken Takakaru, which was her childhood crush. And she goes insane. And that's basically the end of the episode. And so, guys, that's Dandadan Season 1, Episode 1 review. Stay tuned in for Episode 2 review. Thank you. Like and subscribe.